Hey guys, how's it going? Venture Investing here today. So today we're going to be talking about Virgin Galactic, SPCE. We're going to be talking about what's going on with the stock. As of late, it has just got absolutely hammered. As of today, it's around $6 per share. Ever since their earnings came out here recently, not been doing so good, but of course the whole market is being pretty bad. So it's a pretty bad environment to be in the stock right now. So in this video, we're gonna go through their earnings really quickly. We're gonna go through their presentation, their financials, and I'm gonna give you my insights as to what's going on with the stock and what I think is gonna be happening going forward. So of course, this was Q1 2022, and I've compared it to last quarter, which was of course Q4 2021, and I also compared it to the comparable quarter in Q1 2021, just to give you guys a little bit of insight. So this quarter here, revenue, we had $319,000 in revenue, a little bit more. Of course, they're not really generating any revenue yet. You guys are wondering, these are all in thousands. So net income, again, we had a pretty big loss of over $93 million. Last quarter was 82. The year ago was still 129, so they're bleeding pretty badly. I believe this is maybe a little bit higher than what they expected, so some kind of bad news there. On the bright spot here, cash is over 1 billion, it's about 1.1. They're saying it's 1.2 billion. Last quarter was about 905, and a year ago was 616. So of course, they're at least pretty good in terms of their cash position, but they are burning through quite a bit of cash. So let's take a look at the presentation right now. Now, this presentation was a little bit shorter than normal. It was over pretty quick. Of course, the CEO got on here, went over the agenda, and then we started with the vehicle enhancement program. And here, really, they didn't say much, really. They talked about a new pylon that was installed in April. So this is what attaches to the mothership before it's released. There's some electronics that go through and stuff like that, right? So they used to have a 3-point design, but now they're saying that they changed it to a 4-point design. So it's going to increase the durability and reliability. Well, that's great. I'm not too sure if there had any issues with that particular part of this program before, but that's basically all the news they had there. They went to the flight update. This is where some bad news came in. The VSS Unity last quarter, they said in Q4 of this year that they were going to be launching commercial services. Now they're saying Q1 of 2023. And this is something we've seen pretty consistent with Virgin Galactic in terms of pushing their windows. They cited supply constraints, getting better talent, etc. So basically what we're seeing now is maybe Q4 of this year, we're going to see them do a test flight. So again, that's like almost the whole year just to get the test flight of this. And they're saying this is going to be flying one time a month as well. And even further out in the future, the VSS Imagine, again, they're saying it's going to have a revenue generating space flight in Q1 of 2023, and then commercial services about mid 2023. So this is the private astronaut service. This has kind of stayed around the same, maybe pushed up a little bit. This is expected to fly twice a month. And of course they have their other ones ahead of this, like their Delta class and stuff. So it seems pretty far down the pipeline right now. We're just focusing on VSS Unity. Hopefully we can get some astronauts into space and actually make some money. But again, pushing this timeline hasn't been very good for this stock. On the next slide here, they talked about the manufacturing approach and design update. This was basically reiterated from last quarter's presentation. They didn't say much here. Design for higher rate production, maintain in-house design, engineering, and final assembly. And then of course, they're gonna essentially contract out their major sub-assemblies to make them more efficient. This is something they talked about last quarter. They mentioned the Delta class again here as well, and this will be flying about 1 time a week. But again, this is pretty far out, and they talked about working again with their tier 1 suppliers. But again, this is something to be seen, so not too much here on the slide. On the next slide, we got here future fleet development, supplier updates. So they hosted a supplier conference with tier 1 and tier 2 suppliers, and this was essentially aimed at the Delta fleet. So they're gauging interest, they're trying to identify contractors. Wasn't too much said here, but again, they're pushing this narrative, if you will, that they're going to be working with tier 1 suppliers. Next slide here, future fleet, digital twin technology. So this is basically something they were saying was like an in-house team that's going to be working on intellectual property. The facility is going to be made in, it's going to be about 2023. And employee technicians and engineering, specialists are going to be working here, and they're going to be saying that, when this is up and running, it's going to have the capacity of about 6 spaceships per year. And basically what this is saying is that this is all digital. It's making a digital, blueprint, if you will, something that can be shared with tier one suppliers. There was a couple questions asked about this. This is kind of something I'd expect that they would be doing anyway with their design and engineering. And they didn't really go into it too much, and they said, hey, this is something we're going to be talking about in the future, and we'd like to update you on it in the future. So again, I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on this. It just seems like a little bit of fluff here again. That's just basically telling like, hey, yeah, we're doing this. Yeah, this is what we're doing. So next slide here, the commercial update. In terms of sales, they say that they're still on track for the first 1,000 for the launch of the commercial service, but they're still not there. So last quarter they said they had 750. Now they say they have 800. So I think this is pretty consistent from the quarter before as well. They're getting about 50 a quarter. And if I'm correct, I think it's about $150,000 deposit, $400,000 ticket sales. So take that with what you will. It's quite a bit, but not in 3 months. It's not like a huge mass amount of people that they're bringing in, kind of thing, right? In terms of the customer journey and experience, again, they didn't really say much here. They're just kind of expanding a little bit on what they said last quarter about making it a huge experience, maybe subscription based, although they didn't really mention that here as well. They talked about parents, essentially, educating their youth and showing them. Yeah, I don't know, wasn't much said here as well. Building our global brand here was just a bit more fluff as far as I was concerned as well. So in all, the presentation didn't really provide us with much new information. Now taking a quick look at their financials here, we can start with the income statement. Of course, revenue was $319,000, and they said this is basically comprised a lot of it of future astronaut revenue. In their operating expenses here, they talked about customer experience. I've never seen that before, and I'd be interested to know, exactly what is that $25,000. It's not a huge amount here. There's not a lot to see, but what is that for? Is that going to be growing? I'm not too sure. So I don't think they really specified that. Comment down below if you know more about that. And of course, their net loss was $93 million. But also keep in mind that you also have a total comprehensive loss that was actually getting closer to $100 million there. On the balance sheet here, we got cash and cash equivalents about $601 million. And of course, you're going to include your marketable securities short-term about 265, as well as your marketable securities long-term. So that gives you about the $1.2 billion. And their total assets and total liabilities, those are pretty in line in terms of what you might think is healthy for a company. So not too much else to see there. In terms of the statement of cash flow, I didn't find anything too interesting here as well. Of course, customer deposits were about $9.2 million. So if you do the math here, that's kind of a bit higher than that, additional 50 that they got there. So maybe it was a little bit more. Not sure exactly where they came up with that number. So if you guys know that, comment down below. So the cash equivalents at the bottom come down to about $601 million. So my take on the quarter, as you can tell by the video, there's not that much here really, right? There's not much new news. There's basically just what happened in this quarter, pushing back, and then we have all of the macroeconomic, geopolitical stuff going on right now. It's not a great time to own stock like this, and I think that's why it's getting absolutely hammered. We might see this thing spike if we start seeing some progress. We actually start seeing them generate some revenue in terms of from astronauts, but as of now, it's kind of dead money. I kind of jumped in a little too early. No one could expect what's going on right now, but in terms of am I buying any more? No, I see a lot more better opportunities in the market, and I'm just going to hold on to what I have. But things aren't looking great right now. Presentation was very light. Some of the information that came out was not very good, and we just got to basically wait and see, and that's something we've been doing with Virgin Galactic for a very long time. So this is one of those cores. I'd love to know what you guys think down below. Don't forget to comment, like the video, and subscribe, guys. Really helps. And I will see you guys in the next one.